Yo, family, what is good? Welcome back to another daily live stream where the question for today's stream is the bottom in, or are we close to a market bottom? We are seeing quite a significant correction across the board for all financial markets. Bitcoin down almost 2.5% right now, ETH down 1.3%. Oil down 3%, gold down 3%, silver down 11%. Things are looking a little bit bleak. Caspa's currently down 1.2%, valued at 0.0311 or 3.1 cents. I do think this is understandable given what is taking place right now, what is about to happen. We have been very transparent about this on this channel, even in the VIP as well, giving even more forewarning about the current market conditions and what is likely to happen. Headwinds is the agenda. We're going to see some more pullbacks, but the bottom could be in very, very soon. And that'll be our time to accumulate at very, very low levels. We've got some interesting sources for today's stream, given the market update, what's happening right now, alongside some other important posts. I want to play out this video here that I posted in my VIP earlier, an interview with Andreas Steno, who is the CEO of Steno Research here. And in their belief, we are going to see a bit of a FUD deterrent soon. And we'll get to that video in a short moment. Why? Alongside some other posts here regarding Caspa. On a completely different note, I don't know what Elon Musk and Twitter did, but they removed the feature, the display feature. You had white, dim, which is the navy you saw, and then dark, which is what it is right now. And they removed the dim one. I don't know why. I don't like it when it's this dark. Maybe it's just me being very particular. Either way, though, family, welcome back again to the channel, to the stream. To get into the content just straight away. Why are the markets correcting right now? This is one big reason why. Because the United States Senate just voted 52 to 47 to reject the bill to fund the DHS, meaning a partial shutdown could begin by the end of the week unless a new agreement is reached. So I imagine they'll reconvene tomorrow as well, because tomorrow will be the last deadline. But we had been given a lot of forewarning about this, in particular in my VIP community, highlighting that a government shutdown by the end of the week was increasingly likely. But it's only a partial one. There was an agreement reached last week or the week before, I believe, where we had a government shutdown over the weekend, and it caused a lot of pandemonium in the markets. We can see right here, markets saw a massive pullback over the weekend, given the government shutdown. And now we're seeing markets still acting a little bit uncertain, if you will. But there was an agreement made and funding was released. But in that agreement, the agreement was that ICE age. It was mainly the whole kind of discrepancy or the issue around DHS funding right now, because DHS comes underneath ICE and border control, which in the opinions of Democrats and a fair amount of people in America, they deem that they are abusing their control and their power. So the agreement was that ICE agents should remove their masks and also have body cameras on at all times, which was the agreement, but it also didn't extend to more funding. So when that government shutdown was averted just recently, you saw an extra 2 weeks of funding to the DHS department. 2 weeks to kind of figure out how they're going to go about this next step. And we're now reaching the end of that 2 weeks, to the point where on Valentine's Day, 14th of February, if there's been no decision, then DHS will be shut down due to a lack of funding. Or certain agency will be shut down to a lack of funding because the DHS is not getting any funding. So this is partly the reason why we're seeing, very, very high odds of a government shutdown happening on Saturday, and therefore markets are acting a lot more turbulent today, because of course, not good news to see. It's also seen a bit of a rally up in regards to some tensions between Iran and the US, albeit I don't think that's the driving factor right now, because oil is actually down today, where typically it goes up when there's more war concerns. But that's still lingering. People aren't happy about that so much. There are also some other means as well that's important to take into account as I quickly list them off. For example, tomorrow, we should know that tomorrow we have inflation report, CPI, that I will be talking about on stream tomorrow. I'm not sure what time stream is going to be going live tomorrow. If there even will be one, I'm not entirely sure, because I will be a bit preoccupied. I'll make an announcement about that in my Discord server later. We have the CPI inflation reports right now, which is expected to come at 0.3, which is quite a big increase, which does even correlate to the video here, which I will be playing in a bit of a moment. But in accordance to the information they have here and their insight, they're highlighting that all analysts and economists seem to believe we're going to get a 0.3% increase in inflation, where they believe the actual truth of the matter is it will only be about 0.1%. So everyone right now is just blowing it out of proportion, which if this is the case, that will be a very bullish sign. If that is the case, so tomorrow will be important to understand that as well. We can see here, market crash, 3.6 trillion wiped out in 90 minutes. Gold down almost 4%, wiping out 1.3 trillion. Silver down even more than 8.5% right now. 4 billion gone. S&P down 1%, 620 billion erased. Nasdaq 600 billion. Crypto 70 billion. All markets across the board right now are in a bit of a turbulent time, which is, at this point, we should be numb to this. If I'm being honest, we've seen this many a time before, but we can now get into the reasons as to why, and therefore prepare ourselves for what the next steps will likely be. So we could see more downwards. The bottom, I believe, is not far off from being in, I want to say. I'm not so convinced just yet that this here at 60k was the bottom. I have seen other content creators say it probably is because of how bad this wick was, and then I'll make a bit of a nice rally off the back of that. You might see something like that. You could see a bit of a bottom being formed here, 60k being a critical level and potentially a psychological level now for investors. But with a government shutdown, partial one, looming, with potentially more geopolitical tensions and war conflict between US and Iran happening, and also with some key macro reports that we can only hope come in our favor, but if they don't, with these lingering concerns, we could see some more pullbacks. My hope tomorrow, though, is that this information here ends up being the case. We can see in this report here from Walter Bloomberg, CPI report could jolt shocks. JP Morgan warns US stocks could swing sharply after Friday's CPI report. According to JP Morgan trading desk, economists expect core inflation to rise about 0.3% in January, while JP Morgan forecasts a hotter 0.39 monthly gain. So JP Morgan is saying 0.4 almost, which is insane. Other economists are saying 0.3, which is also insane. Goes through a bit more about it here as well. JP Morgan says a hawkish surprise is more likely than a soft one, which of course would not be ideal. Not be ideal at all, and that is probably the main reason why you see markets dump so heavily as well right now. They're worried about government shutdown and worried about potentially hotter than expected inflation, which is not good, and therefore means the Fed is more inclined to hike rates than to cut them, which you don't want to see them hiking rates at all right now. You want to see them come down. But then we get into this video here, which I'm going to play real quickly. This video here talks about, at least from their perspective, that inflation right now is being massively blown out of proportion. Listen very closely here to this section of an interview.
When we talk about our macro regimes, it's a combination of the likelihood that growth, inflation, and liquidity are on the rise. When they begin to point in the right direction, we can be in various macro regimes. And right now we're seeing a shift from what we call QE-like to gung-ho, as you see in the center of the screen here. What does that mean, Andreas, and why are we seeing this shift now?
So I guess the short version of this is that the QE-like regime that we've been in for, say, a handful of months, basically since September, October last year, was a regime that was dominated by, decent private sector liquidity, but weak cyclical growth and low inflation. And the big game changer now is that we see cyclical growth returning. So basically the green line that you're trying to highlight over there, while inflation remains very low. And liquidity remains on a positive trajectory. So I think the most interesting part here is that watching the reporting season last week, for example, with Alphabet, we still see rising capex also relative to expectations from many analysts. The Max 7 is probably surprised on aggregate like 40-50% on top of already elevated capex expectations. That is to me a testimony to what we've been saying for 3-4 months straight, that the capex window this year is one that you're going to utilize no matter whether you want it or not, as a CFO or as an executive in the US, because we're talking about a clear incentivization to do capex exactly this year, due to these bonus depreciation rules included in the big beautiful bill.
Now, this is a very, very, I found quite insightful interview, 30 minutes long. Posted it to my VIP first and foremost, and then re-forwarded it to my free Discord server as well, so you can listen to the whole thing, and a link to it in the community there as well. But the summary breakdown that I had from this interview here was a number of factors. One is that the new leadership with Kevin Walsh actually is going to probably be a bit of a bullish catalyst as opposed to hawkish that many people are believing right now, and that we could see a potential euphoric run like we did in 05 to 07 before the the housing crisis. He also talks about how we're going to see crypto, which right now is quite evident being used as a political tool. We're seeing it right now with the Clarity Act, the Market Structure Bill. Banks are pushing hard against giving fintechs the ability to earn rewards from yields, stablecoin yields. And also crypto quite closely aligned with Trump in regards to what he wants. Trump wants crypto to do very, very well. So you're seeing crypto right now being utilized as a political tool, and that could very much swing the verdict of the midterm elections. That also could mean that Trump might push the markets and Bitcoin to all-time highs before the end of the midterm, being November, which would be huge if that is the case. But in that part we just heard there, he spoke about the shift from QE, quantitative easing, into a gung-ho regime, where we basically go even more parabolic, and that is due to the increasing in positive liquidity, which if you look at the M2 money supply right now, it is at all-time highs and still rallying. So we're seeing more growth in that aspect, more money in the economy. Talk about how inflation actually is not as high as economists are suggesting it is, where people are saying 0.3 coming in and JP Morgan saying 0.4 almost. They are saying it's only 0.1, which is significantly lower. Now, that does mean tomorrow is going to be a very, very important day. Friday is going to be a make or break in my belief. I think this inflation report will very much set the stone for the entirety of next week. And maybe even a little bit longer, because it will also impact the next FOMC meeting in March. So with the government shutdown, partial one potentially looming, and this inflation report coming out, we want to see some reassuring news. Because what we also understand right now is part of this growth in liquidity is also being driven by AI, which I'm going to be making a video on this channel in a few hours or so, I hope. She's going to be going into more detail about this basically recap document from BNY Mellon in regards to IGRA Labs, talking about the next 1 million users on crypto won't be human, but actually will be AI. BNY Mellon here quote Baker McKinsey, which for reference, Baker McKinsey is a top law firm with 90% of their client list being from the Fortune 500. So what you're reading here is basically the opinion of the top 500 biggest companies in the world, and they're saying, and they're estimating a cumulative $106 trillion worth of new and updated investments through to 2040 will be necessary in this new restructuring and rewiring of global infrastructure, and how AI actually is the key spearheading of this movement. This is very, very big and closely correlates to kaspa, and the video I post later on will explain as to why. But AI is going to be a big element as well, why we could see the cycle end up making a sharper recovery when the bottom has been formed, which I'm hoping and believing is not too far off right now. You're just seeing that continual FUD mentality that people are so used to right now. Anything remotely negative sends markets so much further down than anything remotely positive right now. That will eventually subside, in my belief. I still think, and that also was mentioned in this this podcast as well, this interview here, where they mentioned the geopolitics between Iran and US will likely cause more short-term volatility, but the growing conviction in AI, especially Elon Musk now, he's pivoted his SpaceX to be focusing more on AI. That will alleviate those concerns down the line and cause more positive growth when the markets return. So what we're seeing right now is typical in the markets. We are tired, very tired, boss. I agree, LB, we're very, very tired, but the bottom for me, I don't think it's too far off now. Price-wise, it's tough to say, but in regards to just generic time, I think we'll start seeing some relief rallies soon enough. Of course, it does very much depend on the geopolitics. That's literally the market driver right now. Eventually, nearing the end of Jerome Powell's term, investors won't care anymore about Jerome Powell. They'll care what the new Kevin Walsh is going to do, basically. But with the bottom, in my belief, not being that far from being formed, and with AI being a big revolution, the stream also talks about the altcoins on my radar, ones that I believe can do significantly well. Many of these altcoins are already in the playbooks that I have posted to my VIP community, so you get a little bit of a sneak peek. Therefore, of course, I'm going to just talk about the generic reason of why I like them. You can find out a whole deep dive about them, their tokenomics, their rumors and bad things about them, the project, what it is, their partnerships, everything. You can find so much more information in those playbooks, those Google Docs, which is in my VIP community, which you can sign up for 7-day free trial. Of course, links are down below in the description. Some of the assets here in question are here. Some of the meme coins here, I think are just like, ones that could potentially do very well when the markets return. They aren't in my playbook, but these are ones that I have looked into. It's like, what, a potential multiplier, can't go wrong. A little meme. I'm not the biggest against memes. It's just, you've got to be careful with memes because I haven't got any utility behind them. You saw recently, actually, KYC 20 Kango has gone up in flames, and the devs left because there's nothing going on with it. He just took the money from people as well, which is quite, well, bad, to put it in a very polite, blunt way. But the tokens in regards to or assets I'm looking into, one of course being BitTensor Tau. Fair launch that has proof of work elements in it. The key selling point for me for BitTensor Tau, if you look at the market right now, BitTensor is currently at 150. It is very cheap right now. We've not seen at 150 since November 2023, so similar to like Caspa's value, basically how far we've seen it till it's come down. It's in the support band right now. So this is actually an entry level I'm looking right now for Tau, if I'm being honest. I might see it come a little bit lower and then I'm going to scoop up some then, but I'm looking at Tau very closely right now because of how big AI is going to be. It's going to be huge. And Tau's selling point is in respects of their subnets, which their subnets, it basically allows for people to build these AI agents where they compete against one another and they learn against one another. Machine learning, which is something that is so significant that these TradFi companies are actively looking for, ways that they can just have AI learn passively or continuously learn time and time again to become better. That's what the subnets in BitTensor Tau offer, which is pretty good. So Tau, for me, that's just a very gloss summary of it. Of course, there's a lot of stuff in regards to why they're very good in my belief. But Tau's one I'm looking into, and the entry for me is quickly approaching, so I'm bullish on Tau. Also, to the list, you've got stuff like Ondu, which is a real-world asset, which is a slightly different tune to what we're talking about in this stream, but it's still Ondu. Their connection to BlackRock, their ability, or seemingly their soon-to-be ability to tokenize real-world assets, all that sort of stuff. I think Ondu is going to be a pretty big asset, and they've got strong connections as well. So it is currently down quite significantly as well. In accordance to Bybit, it's pretty much near its entry price. So also at a decent level for me for Ondu as well, I'm looking into. Of course, these altcoins can still bleed more so, and you're looking at Ondu right now, it's down, 90% almost. But if you look right now, in a closer time frame, you draw out the box for support zones, you can see there's quite evidently a level of support for Ondu in and around this level here. One around here. So if that is the case, therefore, we draw it over, it means that the level of Ondu is not far off that bottom again. We did see it touch earlier. You can see we saw it touch back earlier this month, about a week ago. So based on the current trajectory of Ondu and the sentiment, I think we could still go a little bit lower in the short term. This could be a zone that I'm looking to scoop up some Ondu for when the reversal comes in. Of course, they're proof of stakes, these ones, so do so at your own discretion, trader discretion, investor own discretion. But I think Ondu is one that could be worthwhile. You also got assets like Kaspa. I mean, we know Kaspa. I don't even need to go into more detail about Kaspa, but I will do throughout this stream. I've got many documents here. Of course, Kaspa related, I think it's going to be very big. And of course, that as well. But Kaspa, of course, we've got some huge announcements coming up for Kaspa right now. We got Silver Scriptus now, being talked about, coming out. You have heard from Cat Pavel on Tuesday that AI agents are currently running through IGRA, which is also very big. Which I'm going to explain in the video I post later on, but in respects of this document here, with BNY Mellon here, they talk about here about the necessity to build data centers, right? They're expected to quadruple 4x by 2030. So in the next 3 to 4 years, you're going to see data centers worldwide 4 times, which is huge. That's important because remember what DRI mentioned a little over a month ago now. the building of data centers. They're going to build data centers in the Middle East, and they did showcase on the KRI actually. It showcased that they are aiming to do this on Casper, which means that Casper is actively, thanks to the DRI Desert Energy, becoming the backbone of data center building and this AI revolution. This $106 trillion opportunity here. There's not even speculation. There's literal definition and evidence right there. This is literally the document. This is what KRI posted about. The exact same document that I'm quoting here. Casper is one of the core missing pieces of global infrastructure, especially as we transition to newer, bigger, and more complex systems. The global trust and sequencing network Casper provides is a beautiful symbiosis. Right here. The launch of new DI report, MENA Energy Outlook 2026 and Renewable Hydrogen and Energy Storage Insight 2030 is also incorporated into AI. You've got Ministry of Energy and Infrastructure, UAE, who was here. You have Manstar, who was here. You have so many huge institutions who were here. And look, Energy Source, Carriers, Casper being the virtual settlement layer into markets, into delivery. Delivery literally says data centers right here. Casper is going to be utilized as a backbone for data centers for this AI revolution, for this $106 trillion opportunity. This is not speculation. This is literal documentation right here, evidence right here of Casper's use case. And that's just on that's the backbone. That's the most important part. That's the backbone. On the surface as well, AI agents we heard from Pavel on Igor right now. You're going to see more coming out. Silverscript's a big element to help that out as well, which you'll hear more about in the video later on anyways. Be huge news anyways. Casper, very, very bullish. Of course, we can see down at 3.1 cents. We are trading around a critical zone right now. And as I mentioned yesterday, depending on the price, I want to see Casper hopefully break above that. If we don't, Casper could likely come back down to this level here of around 2.7 cents, give or take. Maybe a little bit lower around here. And then we'll see where Casper goes from there. It depends wholeheartedly on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes to 60k, I think Casper probably comes back down to here as well. We just see it find support at 2.5 cents at that wick down here. Could it come back down to that? Entirely possible right now. I would like to believe right now the absolute bottom for Casper will be around 2 cents. That's my current belief. That based on the market, based on what I'm seeing right now, based on the zones down here, support you see down here, 2 cents seem to be a level for Casper. And then I'd argue that it'd be between 2 to 2.3 cents. Or 2 to 2.5 cents be around here. It's for me going to be hopefully the absolute bottom for Casper if we see more downwards and headwinds. But it's very, very possible right now. But this is what I'm looking at right now. I think Casper is also. I think most of these altcoins, after bleeding so much, they are nearing a bottom. Of course, black swans are not included in these predictions, and of course not financial advice either. But these predictions right now, they're based on what we currently know at hand. If there's something that has not been brought to anyone's attention and it happens suddenly, black swan event, then of course you can't predict that sort of stuff. The markets will come down even more so. But right now, I think Casper hasn't got too much correction left in it, and then you'll see that gradual and then soon to be sharp recovery with AI being the kind of spearheading of this entire liquidity movement that's going to be coming into the space, where it's rotating right now out into these kind of energy and tech stuff and go back into speculative high risk when the markets are more favorable for it. But that's Casper. So we have Tau onto Casper. You've got Render as well. I'm extremely bullish on Render. You can see right now it's also trading in the support band that I had drawn out quite a while back, showcased to my VIPs at $1.28 or 1.283. Could Render come lower? I mean, it's the same question for all of them. Yes, all of these can come lower, but I believe the bottom is close to being in for most of these assets. Render has a very strong level in and around 9.4 to 1. In and around this level here, Render has a very, very, and it's no surprise, it's a psychological level. A $1, no matter what asset you're in, that just seeing it go from the 0 point to 1 is a very big psychological level. So Render's got a good zone around here that if he sees more headwinds and more, pullbacks and chopping, you can see Render probably come back down here. But Render's one that I think could be really, really big, because what we're seeing right now around the entire world is AI is getting bigger. It's getting bigger, it's getting bigger. And because of that, you need the hardware in order to, build this AI infrastructure. So that's why NVIDIA has been doing so well, because they are the kind of front runner, the main manufacturer for these chips. You've got ISM in Taiwan, the Taiwan ISM, not ISM. You've got Taiwan, sorry, and you've got NVIDIA. They're kind of the main manufacturers right now in regards to building these chips for allowing AI. Render, which previously was for rendering purposes, they kind of expanded and diversified. But Render's main selling point for me right now is the fact that they're the Airbnb for GPUs. Idle GPU power can be rented on Render. So you haven't got to spend your excessive amount of money to buy these expensive chips to build out. You can just borrow and rent the power that Render provides to build your infrastructure. I think that model alone is very, very innovative and going to be something that's going to probably be quite highly adopted. So I'm bullish on Render for that aspect as well. And I think the bottom for Render is close to being in as well. And the zones, I said, big one in and around anything. I think anything below, if you somehow see it, anything below $1 Render, I'm scooping up aggressively. Look at where Render peaked, 15. Or it peaked at 14. Back in 24, March 2024. So similar peak to where like Casper kind of peaked as well. That's where it peaked. I think Render, if the AI revolution comes through in the manner we think it's going to come through in, which I believe it will do, Render returning to all-time highs is comfortable in my belief. Of course, not financial advice again, but anything below $1 to 15x, I'm loving the look of Render. You've got virtuals also, very strong. AI agents, that's the whole kind of selling point there, literally for building AI agents. A lot more volatile, a lot higher risk Render is than the other two in my belief, but still one that I think could do very well. Equally, Render's right now at a critical level. You can see it's in a support band right now. You could definitely see, not Render, virtuals, so you can see virtuals possibly come a little bit low as well. And then around here. So anything around 41 cents, 45 cents, something that I might be looking into for virtuals as well. Of course, there is a possibility virtuals comes a little bit lower. I think if virtuals was to come down this far, I would around 30 cents. I think I'd put quite a big bag in virtuals there, because that does seem to be like a zone that, I mean, below here that you haven't really got. It's the same question you had kind of for Casper. There's not much in regards to support zones for virtuals below here. So this for me is going to be a very, very strong level for virtuals. So I'm eyeing up that as well, which is there around 0.33 and 0.28, this is all in regards to the AI, right? AI is quite evidently going to be huge. I'm going to keep referring to the document here because of how imperative and how important it is. And of course, reiterate that Casper is also a key part in the AI revolution as well, and the best platform for it. There's no doubt about that, because it has the ability to process blocks in parallel, which reduces the wait time and bottlenecking nature that can happen with AI agents and with anything in information. You've got Render, Bonk and AI assets, about virtuals. Zebek, I'm still bullish on Zebek. I'm not holding any right now. Zebek's come down quite a bit. You could see Zebek probably come down a little bit further. If I'm looking at zones for Zebek right now, I'll be probably looking in and around this zone here. Like anywhere around here, I think I might look to probably scoop a bag of Zebek up. I'm still bullish on Zebek. I still think it could do very, very well. But if it comes to that category of high risk, high reward because of its small market cap. It had a very, very strong run up back in April 25 up to June 25, where it, exploded, almost 8-9x in value. And then it's had a slow pullback since then. I think Zebek has got a good business model. They've got some good partnerships. Once more, with anything raw, proof of stake, centralized, do your own research, trade at your discretion. But Zebek's one I think could do quite well when the markets are favoring risk on again. And there's some other ones here that you can see on the chart here. Some of these are actually in my playbook, my AI playbook that I showed to my VIPs. Canton, one of them, which is probably the most centralized and corporate coin there is. So that is probably arguably therefore the most risky, but also makes it the strongest play, if you could argue, because it's got so much institutional backing. You've got other ones in here as well. PAL, I spoke about on the channel a few times. PAL's extremely high risk, probably the highest risk in this list, but the multiplier potential is also very, very high. And that's once more family. If you want to see all the altcoins, or if you have any altcoins you want me to look into, all that sort of stuff, just let me know, and you can find out more, all the altcoins, their information, everything about them, their partnerships, their tokenomics, their rumors and bad and kind of things to be concerned about. You can find out a whole deep dive about all the projects that we're looking into the VIP in the VIP, which once more 7-day free trials and 1-month free trials are available. Setting up through BYDFI through our affiliate link and further steps in the Discord server. But this is all the stuff we're looking into right now. And we think the bottom's close to being. We think the bottom is not far from being in right now. And when that bottom has been formed, we'll start pumping aggressively into the market. Right now, we're just trading and DCing into kaspa effectively. While Bitcoin dominance remains high, I'm not sizing anything really in right now. I do plan to, not too long right now. But right now, I'm just holding off because there's no rush right now. There will be, but not right now when you still got this stuff happening and this stuff happening and stuff in Iran and the US, that stuff's happening. Well, there's no need to rush right now. Markets are not in a position right now to make a sharp recovery just yet. But we've got to get some kaspa content real quickly now. Before we do though, welcome back family. Greg was here first, my man. You're doing very, very well. And welcome back Stan Tomo as well, my man. Gosu, welcome back. Smash the like button, peeps, you know it. Welcome back, Laba Bro. And you too, the real PG. I'm late. What are the altcoins? We just got into that right now, bro. Hopefully you enjoyed my list. And hopefully your list is close to mine as well. It's Bitcoin, Cas, Tau, Link, Aero, and probably Canton at some point or lower. Ondo works too. Yeah, no, I mean, similar. I'm not looking so closely into Chainlink, although Chainlink is not a bad shout. I haven't looked into Aero at all, so I cannot comment on Aero. But the other ones, Bitcoin is just Bitcoin, always a safe bet. Kaspa is the strongest asset in my belief in this space in regards to infrastructure. Tau, AI play, the biggest AI asset as well. Canton, probably the most corporate coin there is, but it's also one that I think will do well as a result of that. But it does have that element of risk to it, being that even though it was fair launched, it actually was fair launched. Corporates front run it, so fair launched by name, but not by nature. And then Ondo, similar thing. It's with anything there's a risk, right? But I think their institutional connections allow them to be adopted going forward. Let's actually just change that now because that was doing my absolute nothing. There you go. Good evening, very well, man. And you too, Jedi Jason. What is in this hard fork again? Any update on Wallet 1? We can look at Wallet 1 right now. And in regards to the update, there was a post about that. I'm trying to think if I can find it. There's been no change in Wallet 1 just recently. They are holding almost 5% of the total supply, which is crazy. I'm trying to think. There was a post on it. I'm trying to think what the post was, but I can't exactly remember. To my knowledge, the hard fork will include key elements. It will most definitely, of course, we'll have to wait and see when we get closer to the time, but the hard fork should include an MVP for VPOGs, minimal viable product, which, to just reiterate for the information case, MVP of VPOGs is not the full version of VPOGs. It is a minimal viable product, meaning it is safe enough for public use. It's still VPOGs, still bullish, still great, but it's just a safe enough version for public use. Is not going to be the full thing, but VPOGs should be coming out by the hard fork. You'll see elements like the Covenant stuff, the ZK, which is huge. ZK is massive. That's what Pavel mentioned as well, how big ZK is. ZK is also a key element to allow AI agents to function accordingly and properly on kaspa. Amongst many other things like privacy stuff, ZK is a huge upgrade, so there'll be that stuff coming out as well, opcodes, that sort of stuff. So there's a lot coming out. A lot of very massive updates that makes kaspa even more programmable. We've got some updates in that regard as well. Silverscript being a key element. Silverscript actually is huge. So huge. We joked about it in the Discord community, the free one. Silverscript's so huge that even Shy was not flooding kaspa. And I love Shy. I have no qualms whatsoever with Shy. I know a lot of people do. And some of them are also a bit more colourful with their wording, and I don't like that at all. There was one from Kaspa Teacher, which, I'm not a fan of that sort of content at all. I know it's shameless. engagement farming strategies from him. And I guess in that aspect, fair enough, but also I thought it was foul what he mentioned, what his message about Too Shy. No matter what your opinions are, some things are best kept to yourself. And I know he did that with the intention to get clicks. That's why I didn't respond to it. I actually just blocked the account when I saw that. I was like, I don't want to see that on my feed. But we got the Silverscript update where Chrono Walker, Ross here apparently tested it and it appears to work correctly, which is pretty good news. Some require functions that are not yet implemented, so full implementation will come later. But this is a really, really big step forward. And we have it here from Shy, which is pretty cool as well, where he responded to Oi Newman and the Silverscript announcement. Very cool. I think extended UTXO, confidence plus scripting engine is a great direction for Kaspa, which is, you know, again, love to Shy. I think he's a fantastic mind. He has been a bit negative for Kaspa recently, which I don't, he's well entitled to do what he wants to do. And if he sees something bad, I mean, he said it very much so. Someone responded to him and he said, I think he said like when things are bad, he'll say it's bad. When things are good, he'll say it's good. It's just he hasn't been seeing enough to make him want to be good, I guess, recently. Which, like, his own opinion. He's still very much under the premise that you know, he's like, someone said come back to Casper. He's like, I will when Jonathan bails. So he's still he does believe. I mean, I think Shy will come back to Casper as well, and I hope he does. I hope he does. I know people might not agree with that, but I do personally think he should come back. I think he also will be a great addition to help explain the technical to the retail. That's what he's great at. But anyways, he's talking here about confidence, and he says, together with ZK opcodes, they can enable very interesting models of programmability layers, e.g. canonical exit bridging for based rollups, and many other high-profile applications well before VPROCs are completed. This could provide much needed leeway for adoption while preventing the VPROC design from being rushed. And I think that's the important thing. I think that's what Shy's bigger concern is when he's throwing FUD and shade and stuff into the idea of VPROCs and the time frame and whatnot. He's not FUDding VPROCs. He's FUDding the fact that he thinks that Kaspa Core are being overly ambitious with saying that VPROCs come out in, you know, 4 or 5 months. Now, we believe it can do because that's what they're telling us, but he's saying, based on his extensive research, based on his PhD as a on quantum cryptography, so he's got a mind about him. He's saying that it's going to be to reinvent the wheel, to only got a yellow paper for people to do this sort of stuff in such a short time frame is not possible. He's saying they can do it, but not that quickly. With Silverscript coming out, this here, with opcodes coming out, second opcodes, is another brilliant development that will help the adoption of Kaspa, therefore meaning that the Kaspa Core don't have to rush VPROCs to bring adoption in. You can utilize this for the time being, which is going to be a massive step in the right direction anyways. When I was still involved, I used to argue that Kaspa should aim for on-chain support for a limited set of high-profile applications, as well as utilities for sequencing off-chain programmability to enable arbitrary functionality. This will truly provide the best of both worlds environments suitable for a multi-purpose chain like Kaspa. Quote, I do not ascribe to the concerns that other forms of programmability layers undermine VPROC because A, there are sufficiently many applications where VPROCs don't make sense, and B, if they do make sense and everything else is built properly, migration should be reasonably complex. Either way, he said the efforts we've seen so far, VPROCs and based rollups, concentrate on the latter. Glad to see Ori carrying the flag on the former. It might come off less sexy and innovative, but it's just as important, if not more, for near-term adoption. There are so many core applications out there to build on similar capabilities, and it would be a joy to see them migrate ported to Kaspa. So, from Shy's perspective here, which again, your opinions on Shy, be it as it may, whatever it is, he's someone who knows what he's talking about. I think you can all agree on that element. He's deserved that much. You may not like his opinions, but he knows what he's talking about, more often than not, given his extensive understanding and mind and the time he's put into learning about Kaspa and crypto, you know, getting a PhD in quantum cryptography and that sort of stuff as well. He's basically saying that the development here from Oyunub and the Silverscript, the stuff he could end up bringing to Kaspa is such a massive benefit that will likely result in the near-term adoption that Kaspa's been waiting for, not needing to be rushed in VPROCs. So this is huge. Silverscript is huge. And we cannot, have to say it, because I'm sure people even now are still very much skewed in their understanding, but VPROCs will not, or Silverscript, this stuff won't cause that. It does not cause God candles, but they allow for the applications to be built on Kaspa to start the whispers going about all this new architecture coming out. It's really quick, it's decentralized, it's cheap, it's insanely fast. And you start seeing adoption coming in, more liquidity coming into the project, and then that starts to slowly have the price going up, resulting in that near-term adoption to correlate to the long-term longevity. So this is a very big upgrade. You're seeing a lot more stuff coming out. Hans Moog here talked about, after building the layer 1 bridge to data read from the base layer, this PR now prepares the scheduler to link its own articles, computational results, and eventually proofs to the artifacts on the layer 1 by associating the generic piece of batch metadata with each executed batch. So another really, really cool thing here. I've not done enough research in depth into this to understand everything about it. Marcus just said it's very, you're kind of one of the classes I've seen. I don't that word lightly, which is really, really cool. The whole GitHub is right here in regards to what it's about. I talked about the key changes here as well. I'm sure I'll do a bit of a deep dive in this later. I want to understand what it actually means here. But I'd assume it's a pretty big upgrade, and one of many that will come to Casper very shortly as well. But you're seeing Casper right now, there's a lot of stuff cooking right now in respects of what's being built right now on Casper, be it with vprogs, be it with ZK, whatever else may be. We are tired, boss. Yeah, I know. We're very tired. But to quote Holes, that's too damn bad. As you know, you know. But to be more legit and truthful, I'm not surprised. I'm also tired. I'm always tired. But patience is a virtue, and our time I still believe will be coming. And I think the bottom is close to being in. I couldn't give you a time frame right now, but I don't think we're far off. We know what catalysts, what developments cause market movements. We know what is going to cause the reversal, the pump we want. If you don't, listen to the streams all over again, or better still, tune into the VIP where we talk about this stuff, basically daily. These sort of developments, what they mean, how they correlate to future adoption, this stuff. You can learn a lot more about that in the VIP. Once more, 7-day free trials and free access, links are down below in the description. Check it out while you can to get ahead and get into the bottom before the pump. We've got other updates here as well. CatBridge expands to Ethereum. Interoperability is huge. Even Pavel said so. Interoperability used to be an advantage. Now it's a necessity. There's a difference now. Back in 24, 25, these developments, having ZK, having interoperability elements, having smart contracts, this stuff was to be an advantage against other chains. Now it's a base necessity for you to get adoption. Having that is big. The NFT bridge from KYC 721 to Ethereum is now live. Nacho Cats can now bridge directly to Ethereum, unlocking access to the largest NFT ecosystem and global market visibility, which is huge, huge news. OpenSea listing scheduled for next week as well. So that is fantastic. I'm not sure what's going to mean for the NFTs. In regards to will they see the price go up, I'm not so sure, but it does mean that should Kappa start getting it, all the NFTs that are available, be it Wolfie NFTs, be it Nacho NFTs, whatever project you're in, which for me is only Wolfie and Nacho, and I'm being no disrespect to any other KRC20, but I'm not as involved in those communities. I've already been involved in Nacho and Wolfie, and I know they've got a lot of utility and backing behind them. We saw Kango go down recently. I wouldn't be surprised if many other KRCs go up and bust soon because they can't keep going at it without getting any rewards back. The benefit of something like Wolfie, for example, they're not, the Wolfie token itself's not making the money because the markets are bad. But they've got a literal restaurant, Wolfie's Bar, a business behind it that helps subsidize and keep capital flowing into the project so they can keep it running. Naturally, a similar thing, and also very connected to the whole Casper ecosystem. That's why I'm bullish on both of those two. That's why the only KRCs that I hold right now. Now, touch wood, God forbid they could both go up and bust, but I don't think they will. I'm hoping they won't. And if they do very well, with Casper doing very well, they will make astronomical gains in my belief. And with this connection to Ethereum right now, it means that they're also going to be connected to the biggest ecosystem and therefore get more adoption and potentially higher prices, you could argue. But that's just on that point. As a final note as well here as well, apparently in some potentially optimistic and good news here, Russia is considering moving back to the US dollar as part of a wide-range economic partnership with Trump. If this is true, that would be huge. If this is true, that would be huge. If Russia, and for that matter, therefore the entire world, I say the entire world, it's not as black and white as that, but if Russia starts moving back to the US dollar, it will first off alleviate the concerns of de-dollarization, although it's still going to probably happen. If you get stablecoins coming on board, which is very much denominated in the US dollar, the dollar domination will still remain, and you'll see strength come back to the economy as well. So if Russia moves back, that would be very, very big. Apparently, Russia and US are working together on fossil fuels, joint investment on natural gases, offshore oil and critical raw material partnership, windfalls for US companies, Russia returns to USD settlement layers. This is kind of bad for, I guess, the environmental element, because you're going to see fossil fuels, ramping up. Those companies are going to get more rich. So, I mean, if you're looking at stuff like Shell, you're going to probably make a lot of money if you're holding stuff like Shell in the long term. But this would be a very, very big partnership and could be very beneficial for the markets in the midterm. So that's something to look forward to as well. Once more, why I think the bottom is not far from being in. While these developments are now sort of bad, these are short-term volatility. This is what manifests and results in the kind of mid to long-term developments. Does it feel like Kaspa is turning into something intended to be and failed its initial idea as no adoption? It's a great point, actually. Did Kaspa pivot because it failed to be what it was meant to be? It depends on how you look at it. I don't think... I think yes and no. I think Kaspa's goal is to be what Bitcoin was meant to be in regards to being a global settlement layer and also a mean of exchange. Now, everyone's so comfortable with dollars or the one-to-one conversion that is currency, fiat. So stablecoins naturally is that bridge. That's what's so important about stablecoins. Now in the future to be, so you need stablecoins to get adoption. I think Kaspa therefore is understanding that certain elements, stablecoins, ZK stuff, that they're important. You need them, and that's how you get the adoption. Having that then allows you to start pivoting and opening up questions to other means, like, do we need stablecoins? Do we just need Kaspa? Where Kaspa's not becoming so much of a medium of exchange, but more so a gas fee. Still fair and proof of work, but a kind of a gas fee for stablecoin transactions. It's a good question. I haven't really thought about it like that. I think most of what's happening right now is always in Kaspa's roadmap. But you could argue there was a pivot because of the lack of adoption that came through with the project. So I guess my answer is kind of on the fence about that, PG. But it's a good question. I think the identity of Wallet 1 will be a huge catalyst. Yeah, I would care to agree, but nobody knows who it is, and I don't know if we'll ever find out. I'd love to find out, of course, but I mean, anybody can guess right now. Someone would say Binance, Wintermute, Elon Musk, Michael Saylor. The names, the possibilities are endless. Whoever it is, we don't know. We even heard Pavel on Tuesday speculate it might even be someone from Kaspa Core who's using it to help so they can subsidize the network. That's also not a bad shout, one they haven't considered before. So we don't know. We don't know. If we find out, that'll be a big catalyst. If not, then the Guardian Angel, literally just be Entity X, our Guardian Angel, is keeping the project above. That's how I perceive them, really. Showing their conviction in Kaspa continuously. But with that being said, family, that will conclude today's Crypto Live. The altcoins that I'm looking into, the Kaspa update, the usual, and what tomorrow's going to be. Judgment Day, make or break. Will we get a government shutdown? Will we get good CPI inflation data? Find out more on the VIP. And in tomorrow's stream, if there is one, I'll let you know tomorrow evening in the Discord server. So check that out. The free server links down below in the description. But that being said, family,